In this video, we talk about a load of bug fixes, including a technical nerf to an engineer, which was technically a bug. But first, the thing that I want to talk about in v1.63.0a is that the developers are stalking my channel. Do I know this? Yes. You know how? Because once I made my video on the Admin Mode Game Pass gifting being a reduced price compared to the Admin Mode Game Pass itself, the developers, within 1 hour and 30 minutes of that video being uploaded, they decided, oh wait, we need to change this. So if I were to go to Game Passes, Gifting, and then gift this person, I'm not going to buy it for them, you can see it is now 7,999 Robux. It has confirmed it was made after my video, 1 hour and 1.5 hours after my video, which is the exact same time that they removed the codes after I made my video on the non-expired codes that were meant to be expired. However, the developers have updated the Admin Mode Game Pass so that it now follows regional pricing, and I believe it is the only Game Pass in Tower Defense Simulator which follows regional pricing. I was told about this by a person who pinged me on the TDS WIKI Discord, saying that admin was affected by regional price scaling, and admin in their country costs 3,000 Robux. As you can see here, admin mode costs 3.2k, which is nearly the price of the Gatling gun. Well, I say nearly, you're still off by about 8,000, but still, it is a lot cheaper, in fact, over half as cheap as it is in my country, the United Kingdom, where it costs 8,000 Robux. Well, this person here gets it for 3,199 Robux. Now, I don't know what country this person is from, and it appears that it's only the Admin Mode Game Pass for them, which gets regional price scaling. I don't think gifting the Game Pass or gifting it through the developer product actually reduces the price. This person would have to confirm to me, but this person here clearly shows it 3,199 Robux. Apparently this person is from Vietnam, so if you're a Vietnamese person, good news. Your Admin Mode Game Passes are now over half as cheap as they are in the United Kingdom or the United States of America. Is this fair? I mean, yes, technically speaking, it is fair because the purchasing power of people in Vietnam is less than the purchasing power of those in the United States of America or the United Kingdom. Hell, even France. But there's going to be a way or method that people use to basically abuse to, you know, set their servers to Vietnam or set their account to be from Vietnam and then all of a sudden get cheaper regional pricing Game Passes. I don't think a VPN would do that because it would assume that you're still from the country that you originally paid Roblox on. But then again, I don't know. Next, the developers have fixed the Frost Spirit and the Core Blocks Deathwalker not being able to use their abilities, because previously these enemies were unable to use any of their abilities while being placed into the map. So as you saw, the Frost Spirit was able to use one of its abilities, which creates a shockwave, and here it's able to use its spawning ability, as seen here. Meanwhile, as for the Core Blocks Deathwalker, it apparently has also been fixed. I haven't seen it attack yet, but the Frost Spirit definitely is able to attack it. Yep, so the Deathwalker has just attacked it. Can confirm it now does attack. Now, interestingly, another bug fix or another thing that they changed is that the Swarmer's damage is now red instead of purple. Purple is meant to indicate poison damage, which means that the developers have changed the damage type for the Swarmer from poison to regular old damage. Now, it's not really that big of a deal because the damage from the Swarmer isn't effective as poison, for example. It's not like the poison damage from the Toxic Gunner. However, it does have the B debuff, which I guess is the reason why it had poison damage in the first place. In any case, it's a small minimal change that most people probably wouldn't even have realized. Next, an update on the legacy maps. It turns out that if you had, say, Simplicity Beat before it was changed over into the current Simplicity, which was originally Simplicity Remaster, but the original Simplicity has been changed over to Legacy Simplicity, they've actually wiped all the data from these maps. That means that the wins, losses, win-loss ratio, easy, all of this doesn't work anymore. However, do you know what's interesting? Legacy Space City is in hardcore mode. As you can see here, hardcore mode is a thing that you can get for this, but Legacy Simplicity isn't. I do believe Space City originally, before the changeover, was actually a hardcore map, which is probably why it still has it. But the current Space City, the new one, also has hardcore mode. Interestingly, this does mean that Legacy Space City is the first community map that can actually work with hardcore mode, because if you try and use, say, the Happy Home at Robloxia, it says invalid map. And if you do, say, Legacy Simplicity, the same error will come up. It is only Legacy Space City which works, and obviously the new Space City. Now, interestingly, with the current Space City, they've actually changed it, or, well, they've not added enemies beta for this map. As you can see here, Mentin is showing these enemies as the original models previously seen before the enemies beta thing was added for other maps. So it's for some reason, any new map that's been added to the game, they no longer have enemies beta, which changes the appearance of the enemies from the original appearance shown here to their new appearance. Furthermore, for some reasons, Legacy Simplicity does not have the enemies beta. It did have the enemies beta when it was just called Simplicity, but they removed it from the, quote, new maps. And technically speaking, Legacy Simplicity is a new map. However, the current Simplicity map, which is Simplicity Remaster, that does have it. So it seems like it was transferred over. Meanwhile, in Legacy Space City, what they've done is actually they've added all pass modifier to this map. Previously, Space City, when this was just called Space City, not Legacy Space City, did not have all pass modifier, but now it does. Actually, I was wrong. Legacy Simplicity did keep it. I'm not entirely sure if Simplicity... No, Simplicity doesn't have it. So, yeah, that's weird. Next, it turns out Jail Towers uses Simplicity as a map in its rotation. However, once the update which changed Simplicity into Legacy Simplicity and Simplicity Remaster in Simplicity, what they've done is they've actually updated the map that can appear for Jail Towers to Simplicity, the original Simplicity Remaster, which is now just called Simplicity. As Mentor says here, anything that just used Space City and Simplicity most likely uses the updated maps now, and Legacy maps from Legacy Space City and Legacy Simplicity do not work. So, for example, if you have the Pleasonate Tower booth, you can't use the original Legacy Simplicity to get that. Furthermore, apparently, Jail Towers never used the original Simplicity map, meaning that Legacy Simplicity is now gone and was never possible and never will be possible. Food for thought. A map that was meant to be for Jail Towers has never appeared randomly as a challenge map, and therefore means it has never been legitimately beaten by anyone because it can't. Next, the Engineer Tower. Previously, its sentries had lead detection, I believe, at all levels. This made the Engineer actually quite good in hardcore mode because the Engineer itself can see flying enemies. Meanwhile, the sentries from level 4 onwards, I believe, they can see hidden as well as detect lead and, well, damage lead. However, that was a bug. Sentries having lead detection was a bug and was never meant to be in the game, and the developers have now removed it. However, the tower itself still has lead detection, so you can use this tower in hardcore mode to probably deal with the lead. However, you're going to have to need other towers because the sentry on its own is unable to deal damage to leads. And given the fact that leads only appear in hardcore mode, it's really only hardcore mode which this Bugfix was actually targeting. Next, there was an issue with the Swarmer, the original Swarmer, where its fire rate was twice as long for whatever reason. This has now been fixed. And the Swarmer's upgrade descriptions now list all of their statistical changes rather than it being blank as it was previously. And also, there is actually a stack limit per Swarmer in Tower Defense Simulator, that being 150. However, overall, the maximum bee sting stack is 5,000. To achieve the maximum amount of stings, you would need at least 34 Swarmers in Tower Defense Simulator, meaning that it's really unlikely that you'll ever reach the max stack limit for the Swarmer, at least in regular gameplay.